You know, a couple years ago, I had the opportunity to travel to Bolivia with Stadia Church Planting and Compassion International. I was traveling with a group of church leaders there to go visit and view the partnership between Stadia and Compassion, planting new churches in poor neighborhoods and building community centers in those neighborhoods where children would be sponsored by Compassion International. It was a wonderful experience. But we went to a couple of new churches, and so we were at one new church, and there was a great celebration, and all the kids were up front. They were singing songs, and then they were putting on a program, and then the kids came and they sat down with us. Well, this little girl and a couple of her friends came in, and she sat down beside me. And she was just adorable, cutest little thing I'd ever seen, you know. And as soon as she sat down, she started just talking to me a mile a minute. Well, she's speaking Spanish. I can't speak Spanish. But just watching her was a joy. Well, finally, one of the Compassion guys came over. He could speak Spanish, and he started translating. Well, for the entire hour and a half of this program, this little girl, I found out, whose name was Vivian, did not stop talking. And it was like a 30-year-old in about an 8-year-old's body. She was just asking great questions and on and on and on. I was having a blast. Well, I got to tell you, by the end of this program, God had just really moved my heart towards this little girl. Well, come to find out, the guy from Compassion told me that Vivian was not a sponsored child, that she had become a part of the group there, but she couldn't be completely involved because she was not sponsored. And so I felt immediately God saying to me, Don, this is what you need to do. You need to sponsor this beautiful little girl. And so I started hooking up with the various people, and I did. And they, before the whole time there was over, they had me signed up to sponsor Vivian. Well, we did some other things around the church there, saw some other things that were taking place there. And then here in a little bit, we were sitting down in this commons room once again, and I looked over at the other side of the room, and there's Vivian, and she's just crying profusely. Well, I thought maybe I'd gotten her in trouble because we were talking during the program. And then one of the Bolivian Compassion representatives came up to me, and she said, no, she's not crying because she did anything wrong. She's crying because she just found out that you're sponsoring her. Oh my goodness. Then I was crying too. Well, you know, ever since then, for those 2 years, about three or four times a year, I get a letter from Vivian, and I write Vivian a letter. I get her a birthday gift. I send her a little money at Christmas for a birthday gift, and it's just been a really wonderful experience. But on a far greater scale than that, I know a couple other major things are happening with Vivian. You know, Vivian is now getting education, getting health care, getting help, getting enough food day in and day out that she was not getting before Compassion came into her neighborhood. And even more importantly than that, Vivian is now a part of an active, dynamic, good church family. And she tells me about these things when she writes these letters. You know, Compassion helps children grow all through the years of their life and their development. And they become great community leaders. They become people, in fact, and I met many of them, people who themselves begin to sponsor children. It's an amazing ministry. And it all takes place because Stadia is planting new churches in places that Compassion couldn't go. And then Compassion is working through those churches, those Stadia new church plants. Man, so excited to be a part of that, both with Compassion and Stadia. I hope you'll get on board with that, and I hope you'll follow Joe and I on our walk, iWalk 500, and support us through that walk to plant a new church in Bolivia and to support children through Compassion International. Check it out on www.iwalk500.com.